Hey guys, welcome to my SQL Server tutorial. I'm going to be going over all of the SQL syntax that you need to know to interact with SQL Server. If you don't know, SQL Server is a relational database management system, which is a type of software for storing and retrieving data, normally for other software like will make the request to SQL Server, like a web app or something like that. So basically, the way it works is it's kind of like a spreadsheet. You use rows and columns to store data, but you use the SQL language, structured query language, to interact with the tables. And it's relational, meaning that imagine if you had a spreadsheet, but each table had a relationship with one another. Alright, so if you want to follow along with this tutorial, you're going to need to get two things. One is SQL Server, obviously, and the other is SSMS, or SQL Server Management Studio, I believe that stands for, which is for basically interacting with SQL Server. So just search in Google SQL Server download, go to the first site. And you're going to want the developer edition, that just means that it has all of the features of SQL Server, except you're not going to use it for production. It's just for testing or learning. So you're just going to hit download and then find the install and then run it. And I recommend just doing a basic install. You don't need to do any custom settings in the install wizard. And then the other thing you will need is SSMS download. You can find that here. Yeah, just hit the download button. And I already have it, so I'm not going to download. But same for this software, just do the basic install. And so once you have both of these set up, you can just look for SSMS. And you should be able to connect to your SQL Server at this point. Alright, so if you want to follow along with this tutorial, I'm going to be using a sample database. I'm going to put the link to it in the description of this video, but it's a link that goes straight to it's a download for a zip file. So you're just going to want to look for this in the description and download the file, and then you're going to want to go find it in your file system, and you're going to want to unzip it. I use 7-zip, which is free software, so if you need that, you can go get 7-zip and then extract it. And then now you have the unzip. These are SQL files. So what you're going to need to do is create a database. So in SSMS right here, over databases, you can right click and click new database. And then you're going to want to call this bike stores with a capital B, bike, and then a capital S, stores. Alright, and then you can click OK. And now you have a database here called bike stores, and it is empty as of right now. So now you're going to want to open these, go to open file, these SQL files. So the first one you're going to want to do is create objects. So open this, and then on this drop down right here, you're going to make sure that you're using bike stores to query against. And then you're going to want to execute this file. And so now, if you refresh the databases, you should have, so we've made two schemas with, I think, 9 tables, but they're empty. So you're also going to have to open the file to load the data into the tables. Load data, all right. And then you're going to want to execute this also. And I believe this is a success. All right. All right, so now we're going to start going over basic SQL syntax and SQL commands. So we're going to open a new query, and then we're going to make sure that we're querying against bike stores. All right, so if you want to retrieve all of the rows and columns of a table, then you're going to use something called select star. So you're going to do select, and then the star is shift 8, the star symbol, and then you're going to say which table you want. So from, and we have a list of tables in our database, and I'm going to do sales.customers. So from sales.customers, and you're always going to end a SQL command with a semicolon. So if you execute this command, it's going to give you every column and record in this table. So select star grabs every column, but if you wanted only specific columns, you can use a comma separated list. So we'll say first name, comma, last name from sales.customers. And so this is only going to retrieve the first and last name of every customer. All right, so there's two things that I want to point out here. One is that the order of the columns that you put in the comma separated list, it's going to retrieve them in that order. So you can see it brought first name, last name. Now if I swap these, so I said last name, comma, first name, if I run this query, it's going to bring them back in that order. So now it's last name, first name. The other thing I want to point out is you can see that in the SQL keywords like select and from, I'm using all caps. You don't have to do that. So if I just say select in lowercase, that's still going to work. And it's going to put the keywords in blue. It's really just a preference thing, but I like to put them in all caps. Another thing, obviously, if you are only retrieving one column, you don't need a comma. I mean, that's pretty obvious. So that's just going to retrieve one. Something you should know is that the select star syntax, you should only use that when you're inspecting a table just to see what's in there. You shouldn't actually use that in production code because let's say you had some sort of script and you were using select star in it, and then after you made the script, one of the tables gets more columns added to it. So now you're retrieving more data than what you're expecting, and that could break things. So even if you were wanting to retrieve the entire table, every column, you're still going to want to put that in a comma separated list. You're going to want to have all of those typed out. And a little trick for that, if you don't want to type all of them, just a little SSMS trick you can do is you can right click whatever table that you're wanting to select from, and then you can go to script table as, select to new query editor window, and that's going to have every column listed out here. So if I select this, execute, I'm still going to get every row and column.